rural areas tend to be very under the illusion that there's a mystical value to the market and somehow it's magically going to buy your house one day. You start to see those numbers getting bigger and bigger. Those are signs you need to be very careful with how you price your home in these areas. That Polk County did not make the top 5 counties. Now, why do you want to know how this area is doing? Well, number one, it is heavily affected by Airbnb traffic. These particular areas were much more affordable than Tampa and Orlando. Hey everybody, Jared Jones. The long-awaited update is here. Many of you have been asking for an update on the Polk County area here in the Central Florida market. Polk County is the area, the county between Tampa and Orlando. So it's kind of been the suburban part of Central Florida, more rural, has some swampy areas. So it's got a variety of different things, a lot of outdoors things to do. But this particular area has thrived long on citrus, much like many of Central Florida, but also additionally, it's been a tourist hub. Most of this community, it's up against Disney World to the north. It's got Cypress Gardens. It's got Legoland. So it actually has some draws from a tourist perspective. It's got some historic sites that are kind of interesting, kind of sprinkled around the county as well. Now, why do you want to know how this area is doing? Well, number one, it is heavily affected by Airbnb traffic. So there's a lot of vacation, second home ownership, which obviously can be at risk if the market does shift. It's also a concern for people that currently make money in this particular sector of our marketplace. So those of you, particularly Haines City, Davenport side of Polk County, you're gonna get a lot, but there's also Lakeland. Lakeland has become a boom town along with Winter Haven. These particular areas were much more affordable than Tampa and Orlando. And as a result, they absolutely boomed over the last 2 or 3 years. So we're gonna take a deep dive on this particular county. So if you appreciate the content, we're gonna jump into the data, smash the like button as we go to make sure a lot of people can get a chance to see this. Let's get to the update. All right, so the first thing I wanna show you is the population center. So Polk County is a pretty large county. There's a lot of population considering, but let's take a look at how it compares. You have the Orlando marketplace up here at the top of the screen. You can see it's 1.45 million people in the Orange County metro area. Tampa here, Hillsborough, which is the main county for Tampa, is actually 1.5 million. You can see Polk County equally as large as those two counties, but it is definitely less populous. So that is a draw of Polk County. There's obviously less people in the area. There's a lot less density. And so a lot of times people like to kind of get out of the major areas. But the other reason they're going to get out of the major areas, it's a lot cheaper. Look at this. You have the Orange County marketplace, $399,000 is the average price for that area. Tampa is nearly $390,000. It's $386,000. Polk County is a full 25%, or right around 25% cheaper than it is to live in Orlando, and close to that for Tampa. So a lot of folks, their motivation for being here is it's more rural. Even though it is rural, it's got the Interstate 4 driving right through the middle of it, and it allows people to get out. I will tell you, we're gonna see a lot of variables here because a lot of this community up here to the north is Davenport Haines City. That is being fed off of this, we call Four Corners Marketplace. The Four Corners area of these counties, 4 counties meet right here off of Disney World's corner. So the base of Disney's here. Then you have Orange County, which most of Disney World is found in. But then down here you have Osceola County running next to Polk, and Lake County to the north. So you have 4 counties converging on they're all bordering in the same spot. Because of that, the northern edge, if you will, of this corner, it's not a massive corner, but I'd say all of this right here, kind of this L shape. You look, this kind of cuts through here and all the way to the top. All of this is a base of Airbnb and vacation homes where people that are going to the park can actually rent vacation homes. They don't have to stay, in a small hotel room, and they can commute to the park very easily via I-4 or taking Highway 27 up here and cutting across. So all that to say this, you've got a variety of things going on in Polk County because you do have a lot of the Airbnb income up here. You got Winter Haven, you've got Lakeland, you've got Bartow, which is really built off of Lakeland's economy. But you have all of these particular areas that are starting to grow and have been blowing up really over the past couple of years just because of affordability's sake. This is the rent differential graph you're looking at right now. Right here in Polk, you're going to notice that this area, it's a much closer toss-up for people looking to own here. So if you wanted to buy versus rent, you're only looking at a difference of a 10% savings to rent, okay? Which again, I mean, that's according to the average around $3,000 a year that someone would save by renting. But the difference is if you were to move to Orlando area, you would save 31% by renting. It's much more expensive to own in Orange. It's considerably more expensive to rent even in Osceola, both metro areas. And the same thing holds even for some of these outer areas like Spring Hill. It's 21% savings to rent versus own. So, you know, people are going to end up here because they're going to want to save money. They're going to give themselves a shot at home ownership because it is cheaper. And that has been a point of home value growth. So, but not this last year. Okay. So this last year, home prices in this area have settled. They were at 317,000 same time this last year, and they have since shifted. But let me go through and show you some zip codes so we can actually get to some details of what's going on in this particular market. All right, so we're a little closer in now, and we're gonna see the top of the county kind of runs up here. You're gonna see where exactly the price losses are coming from. So if you're in this county, you're curious about how your area is doing year over year, here you go. You have Bartow down here, it's down 1.3%. Lakeland, Winter Haven area, 33884 is down 3%. It's one of the largest in the entire county, along with 33881, 2.5% down. Look at Davenport, 33837, negative 3.1. 33896, which is also inundated with rentals. And this is actually going into Osceola County, folks. Some of this on this edge gets in Osceola. But again, these are highly, highly owned for vacation second home. There are definitely some owner occupants living here, but that is the data. I mean, there's a lot of these outskirts. These are very rural, Green Pond area, negative 0.8%. So it's really flat. Even 33805 right off of I-4, on the north side of Lakeland, is actually positive. Probably one of the best looking marketplaces for the entire area in terms of its price appreciation over the past year. The next chart I'm going to show you is where is inventory coming from this year, okay? So all you see right here, if there is a red spot, that means inventory has jumped quite a bit. Those are the danger spots, right? So if you have a marketplace like we find ourselves in, where is inventory starting to really climb in this market? So you can see right up top, 33868, which is Polk City and beyond. This is, I don't think it's not a populous area. So it's really not one to speak heavily on, but this one is. So you start cruising over here, you're getting towards Davenport. It's up 47%. Look at all the Davenport markets. 33896 is up 70% in inventory, one of the highest in this particular area. 33837, this is more homeowners that are living here. So it's not jumped too much, 15.6%. When you start passing I-4 into this bottom end of Davenport, there tends to be more homeowners, less Airbnb. And the same for Haines City. So 33844 is only up, those of you that bought new recently in Haines City, they're still pretty tight on inventory. Lake Alfred, on the other hand, up 44.3%. A lot of new construction growth going in Lake Alfred. Be interesting to see how that area does over time. The south part looks like the bottom of Winter Haven area, right off 27, 33859 is up 70% inventory. But again, they're very small numbers. Winter Haven proper is right here, 33881, negative 10% in inventory. So inventory around Winter Haven is still good. I think a lot of people are still moving into Winter Haven. So it wouldn't surprise me if we still see that area booming quite a bit. Let's look at price cuts. So price cuts is a great indicator to give us an idea of where the motivated sellers are. So those of you that are either buying a home right now or considering bringing your home into the marketplace, if you start to see these areas where they're above 23 to 26%, meaning 1 out of 4 homes is price reducing in order to sell, you start to see those numbers getting bigger and bigger. Those are signs you need to be very careful with how you price your home in these areas. If you're looking to buy in these areas and you start to see them like up here, 33897, again, Davenport, 40% of the homes there are price reducing in order to sell. Next door to it, which is, again, this is Osceola County, but this is Airbnb Central's 29% price reductions, 1 out of 3. Lake Alfred, look at Lake Alfred. They were booming in inventory growth, but the people there are stubbornly not reducing. There's 22% price reductions in Lake Alfred. Haines City still holding pretty strong. People there are not reducing their price as much, 17.9%, which is kind of like an average, a healthy market number. You start to see some red in here, right? 33881 and 884. These are getting up there a little bit for the resale homes in Winter Haven. You have down here in the southwestern part of Winter Haven, 33880 is 35.8%. And again, going towards Lakeland, Bartow, you're starting to see it kind of flatten out. But some of these outer areas, you've got some, anything where you see 35, 39%, and then you start to see the day on market time starting to increase. Let's take a look at day on market times. These right here will also give you an indication where year over year it's starting to stress out a little bit. And again, this is also where you see people being patient. Look at Lake Alfred. This is just a stubborn bunch. No offense to you if you're selling their home in Lake Alfred. I don't mean that personally. But they've got this massive day on market time growing. Their inventory is going up, which means if you're selling, you're going to price reduce in order to sell so you don't run up the day on market time. So a lot of folks in these, rural areas tend to be very under the illusion that there's a mystical value to the market and somehow it's magically going to buy your house one day. And so they just refuse to reduce and they just assume, hey, maybe my market takes 7 months, 8 months to sell, okay? And this isn't just for Lake Alfred. This can be a lot of different areas. But you are starting to see some of these pockets going up, day on market time. Look at this. Recent data for 33805. If I remember right, 33805 was this corridor off of I-4 that saw price bump. So they saw price bump and now it's getting a little harder. It's taking a little longer to sell homes there. Maybe not too much yet, but the averages there are growing. And in theory, if you start to see this happening, that price bump that they experienced, they might be giving some of it back really soon. So those of you in 33805, look out and see what happens. Your time to sell a home is getting a little cooler, which means you might see the market shifting a little bit towards buyer favor. Auburndale, 42.2% increase in day on market time. Day on market, again, how long it takes to sell. It's a measure of time on market. When it's shorter, when you see this stuff right here where 33844, it's only a 1% difference to last year. The market's pretty stable year over year. Same thing really around the south side of Lakeland. This area must still be popular. So central Lakeland and then south of it, it's pretty stable. 33813 is ticking up a little bit, but overall, Bartow, all this is just still turning over on time. It's the northern parts. It's going up towards Disney. It's going up towards Davenport where you start to see things shifting. And obviously Lake Alfred where the people are trenched in and they're not shifting. This is an interesting graph that I like to show. This is called inventory as a percentage of houses. So what this measures is how many homes exist in the area, how many homes versus how many there actually are available to be sold are actually on the market. It's an interesting graph because it allows you to see if there's a high mix of homes in a given area for sale. I would tell you that historically 1.6 to 1.8 is kind of like a given norm that you see quite often. When you start to see 2%, 2.5, 3% of all homes in a given area are on the market for sale, you start to see things shifting a little bit. You can see where the red is, that's where there's propensity for change. Look at this. This is the sweet spot of Airbnb. It is 3 to 7% on the market. 7% is one of the highest numbers I've seen, folks, even since last year. 33896 is deep in inventory. People there are going to start to get to be very, very motivated. But look, you see the rest of the map. There's not a high percentage of inventory. Lake Alfred's getting up there, but we already know why. Lake Alfred's just not selling their homes. People are being stubborn. You're going to see this shift quickly, by the way. You're going to see sellers in Lake Alfred are going to get the news. In the next 30 or 45 days, you'll start to see Lake Alfred get on the plan, and you're going to see a higher price reduction there. But if you are looking to buy there, be aggressive with your offer writing because there's probably opportunity for the buyer. But you can see it all the way down. 33844, decent amount for sale in Haines City, but there's just low numbers mainly for Winter Haven, Auburndale, most of Lakeland. There's just not a big number of those homes on the market. Now, two last fascinating charts I want to show you is I want to look at how much is owner occupied in these areas and how much is leased out. Okay, so home ownership versus part-time occupancy, things of that nature. So this refers to things where people are just renting property at high amounts versus those that aren't. And then we're going to look at one last feature, which is how many of these have high mortgage rates. So how many people in the area have leveraged a bunch of these homes? So you can see we're obviously up here. You got 50, 60%, 47%. These are very low rates of home ownership. 67% isn't that bad, but for sure, these are just really inundated with Airbnb. We expect that. Look at this, 86%, the rural areas are highly owned. I'm surprised by this. I don't know 33805, But apparently there is a lot of rental property there. It's been hot, so apparently investors are either selling off what they have. But most of this downtown Lakeland area, which I'd imagine is probably lower home value. Yeah, let me pull that up real fast. Look at the home value. So that's why. So these that have low homeowner occupancy, look at the prices in these areas. Average price, 233, 234, 186. Probably not the most appealing. No offense to anyone that actually owns and lives there full time, but these are obviously where you're seeing the buy and hold opportunities. So people are trading up and these homes are still kind of going up in value. Lake Alfred's at 290. That's probably still home ownership. But up in, you got big numbers up here. These areas are highly leased out. 33896 is pushing a $400,000 average. This is one of the highest averages in all of Polk County, which averages 311. So the last chart we want to look at is how much of the homes in a given zip code is actually mortgaged. So this is important because if there are dips, challenges in the economy, those of the folks that have mortgages are the ones that are going to feel strain, right? So you see anything above 60%, it's cause for watch. That's all I would say. It's cause for watch. Doesn't mean negative things. The interesting thing, look at the Airbnb market. This is Osceola County. This is not Polk, but it's on the line. 59%, so under 60%. A big majority of these homes are mortgaged, but not crazy high numbers. 33897, 64%. This is an interesting spot. If you're looking to live off of the hub of Orlando and you're looking for a value, I would say watch these, folks. Watch 33897 and 33896. Because a lot of these, you can find homes in communities that are good, that are, you would be comfortable living there. But I think you're going to have opportunity because particularly 33896, high mortgage percentage. And these markets are starting to fill up. You're starting to see inventory starting to increase. You're starting to see potential softness, folks. Again, 33837. This is a more stable of all the Davenport zips. But nonetheless, it's very high in mortgages. A lot of these mortgages were underwritten in the last year and a half. If people in these areas get in trouble, any of these, you're going to start to see people have to face competition where there's not a lot of buyers, okay? The buying market in that area is softened a bit. You'll remember I've done reports on how the Airbnb investment market has gotten tougher to sell to because they can't get financed, or the financing they can obtain is much, much more expensive. You're talking very high interest rates priced in to buy these types of properties with a finance loan. So it's causing these areas to experience some headwinds, okay? But look at the rest of the market as a whole. Percentages of mortgages. Do we see anything over 65? All the north is below 60. Everything in here is super low. So these areas here are under 50. So these cheap houses are much of them are being bought up in cash. Auburndale's low. You get down here, I think this is around Bartow, 33812. These particular areas down south of Lakeland, higher percentage of people borrowing money. There could be some opportunities here in the future if that, there has to be more inventory though. There has to be more inventory. Day on market times need to start stretching out like they are up here. This area here, Lake Hamilton, this might be an opportunity. 33851, seeing a lot of mortgaged properties there. And again, just have to watch and see what takes place. But a lot of these other areas, I'm really surprised that there's not more mortgages than there already are. Even in like Winter Haven, ton of people. What happened, folks? How did these areas end up with such low mortgage percentages? Well, I know in my experience, as I've been working these markets over the past couple of years, a lot of people were moving here from New York and from New Jersey, and they were selling houses in full cash. So they were selling properties there. And I should say they didn't necessarily sell a house with, and come in. They came in all cash because they sold $1 million townhouse somewhere, or they sold, some brownstone or whatever that they had owned for 15 years, or a flat in New York that was ridiculously amount of cash came off of it. So we did have a lot of out-of-towners really kind of land in these areas. So I would tell you, it's interesting. I would say Polk County wide, the only two areas that I would really start to focus on now, and I will do my best to try and keep an eye on this as we kind of cross into 2024, is going to be this upper northern part against Disney and maybe some of these southern parts below Lakeland. that will be interesting to see. And Lake Alfred, I think Lake Alfred's going to be one to watch in the short term. I have a feeling the people there are going to housing correct. I have a feeling too that the resale market here, they're going to be uphill against new construction. So you folks have new construction showing up in your backyard, and they're probably competing with your prices. Someone could probably go to Lake Alfred and buy a new construction house for what you're asking for your 15-year-old home that's got time on it and a used air conditioner and a roof that's 5 years old. So those are things that are happening. This is how this kind of transition's taking place. A lot of that is the case too for Davenport. You're having builders that are, recently the news came out that the median price of a new home nationwide dipped below the resale median price, which means builders, they don't have time to sell on the market like a homeowner does, and they will not wait. They will reduce. But that's it for now. Thanks for hanging on. Did I cover everything you wanted? Did I miss anything? I'm sure some of you are going to chime in that you wanted foreclosure data. I don't really have anything that specific. I will tell you that Polk County did not make the top 5 counties in the most recent foreclosure data for Florida. So it's not even at the top of the list in terms of danger of defaults and things. So I can't anticipate anything else you might have wanted to ask me, but feel free to drop something in the comments if I missed it. I'd love to hear from you on it. As always, if you appreciate the content, tell me what you think. Give me a comment. Just give me a what's up in the comments below and smash the like button. Share this on your Facebook if you live in the area. I'd be grateful. We'll talk to you real soon.